So today we're going to talk a little bit about Paychex and our AI Copilot with Mongo Atlas. It's part of our what we call our uh, data platform Mosaic, which is really nothing more than a series of platform technologies that make up the larger environment ecosystem for us to do data, AI, and large language models and such. So we'll start off here a little bit with some introductions. So first, turn over to Dave.
Hi, I'm Dave Hart. So I've been doing this for about 20 years, all told at this point. Half of it with Paychex. Before that, I was over with Thomson Reuters. I've kind of done the full gamut in terms of I came up through development. I've done some architecture, a lot of work in big data, and now I'm over working with data services at Paychex and infrastructure, databases and whatnot. So, thank you.
My name is Sean Karen. I am the Senior Manager of Data Services at Paychex. 25 years of experience in the IT organizations, background in software engineering, data security and networking, enterprise architecture, and obviously data solutions. One thing you'll notice that Dave and I both come from a diverse background. Part of what we're trying to accomplish at Paychex is bringing in not just data-centric folks, but developers, architects, the full gambit to drive our larger strategy. I'm also focused on helping drive our larger big data and AI strategy. Data services at Paychex really broad covers governance, standardization, data engineering, data analytics, platform management, operations, pretty much the entire life cycle of data at Paychex. So first off, just an obligatory slide about Paychex. Our mission statement is we will be leading provider of payroll, human resources, and employee benefit services by being an essential partner with America's business. We are a human capital management company. That means we deal with payroll, benefits, insurance, anything that you would do as a business partner that needs for your people, paying them benefits, et cetera. That's what we provide for our business. Some quick business facts. First and foremost, we were founded in 1971. We do provide a complete solution for all of human capital management, which includes payroll, HR, retirement, insurance, and benefits. We serve approximately 650,000 payroll clients with a total client base of about 780,000. We provide 11 million payrolls weekly. So 1 in 12 paychecks go through our organization, paying to the American workers. On a peak day, we will run about 2 million payrolls, which equates to roughly $8 billion in dollars running through our platforms, through our data systems, et cetera. So data security, data management is a key element for us as a company. We are, if you look at it from a focus perspective, we focus on small to medium-sized businesses. We have about 16,000 employees with a market cap around $5 billion. We're in 80 offices across the US. We have about 2,000 on-prem databases. Oracle, SQL Server, MongoDB, huge step there. We have about 120,000 Azure SQL Server databases, so we're a pretty big player in that space as well. We've been using Mongo since about 2015, where we first started our MongoDB journey. Today we have over 500 Mongo databases across our platforms. We started with 10, and over the course of the last 8-9 years, we have grown significantly. It is the fastest database technology at Paychex. We use it for pretty much all of our new application designs, and we're also looking at to bring a legacy application stacks over to Mongo as its data store. Of my organization, 40% of our 40 database engineers, about 50% of our staff is trained on Mongo administration and Mongo development, not just managing the database, but also design, development, infrastructure code, et cetera. We have automated the Mongo deployment in such a way that OS, host, network, security, the actual collection, we can spin up an entire 5-node cluster set across 3 data centers in 27 minutes. So we have a mentality of automation first, which is what's driving us to that next evolution. And MongoDB has been a great partner in that space. Although we have minimal Atlas experience at the moment, it is a cloud-first model that we're going to go to from an architectural perspective, and the data services organization is a leader in that space. What I'll do right now is I'm going to turn over our use case here to Dave, and he'll walk us through the specifics.
So let me just talking about the problem we were looking to solve, the space that we're operating in. So HR services is a very complex area, and one of the things that Paychex has always prided ourselves on is our service. So one of the things that you get when you go with Paychex is you can pick up the phone 24/7, ask an HR rep, how do I handle this particular situation? The complexity of those questions is kind of staggering. We have many different application lines. You have payroll, you have benefits, retirement. You can have something as simple as, hey, I've got a problem employee and I'm not sure what I'm allowed to do. In addition to the fact that we've got all of these different lines and there's these different flavors of HR questions that can come in, where you are operating out of can have a huge impact on the answers that we can give you. There's regulations at the state level, national level, county, town. So for somebody to come in and understand the vast knowledge base that we have of our products and the regulations, it's pretty daunting. And the difference between someone who's been doing it for a long time and someone who's been doing it for a little bit of time is huge. And even the folks that have been doing it for a long time, the customer interaction is sometimes, that's a great question, I'll call you back when I have the answer. And then they go and they have to search and find the answer through all of the different knowledge bases and things that we're dealing with. So onboarding is a challenge, productivity is a challenge, several different areas that make it hard to be a great service rep. So if we go back to last year, that's when started to see answers for this sort of problem emerge. So I don't think anybody's unfamiliar with the landscape. First ChatGPT, everybody was trying to be fast followers, getting a solution out there. And then the real Can you guys hear me? Thank you. The real dam broke when all of those providers went from trying to be folks that were giving AI solutions and instead tried to commoditize AI. And so it went from, we've got a couple of big players that are doing these sorts of things to, hey, these players are trying to make it available for everyone to bake into their own solutions. And so at Paychex, seeing that and seeing that problemscape before us, we decided that we would launch our Copilot project. Now, the Copilot project made use of LLM and AIG, essentially to take our knowledge base, try and pull it together, and let it be searchable through plain English questions, and also to generate answers across the different pieces of the knowledge base. Very common problem. It's the sort of thing that I think many of us are tackling as we look at our first sort of solutions in this space. I'm curious, anybody else here already working on a generative AI project? So a lot of what I'm going to talk through will hopefully resonate with you, and you guys will see some of the same themes that you've probably encountered. If you haven't started taking on one of these projects, the vendors do a great job of providing pathways and solutions. I talk about that commoditization, but there are some interesting differentiators between what everybody's producing in the space. So how does Atlas fit into this equation for us? So we actually added Atlas as a secondary data store for our Copilot project. Rather than it being where we were cataloging our vectors or anything like that, when we took a look at the solution that we were putting together, we found that we needed to capture extra data to make it go from a good product to a great product. One of the things that I talk about in the AI space right now is everyone's going to have an AI solution in the next couple of years. It's going to be kind of like mobile solutions 10 years ago. There's going to be good ones and there's going to be really bad ones. And so your differentiator isn't about do you have one or not. It's about how useful and how good it is and how much people get out of it. So one of the basic things we're doing with Atlas is it's just storing our context so that when a single user's coming back in, they're interacting with a Copilot. If they asked a question yesterday, it's got that context. If they are within a session and they happen to get bounced to a different region, then they're still maintaining that flow. It's not a case where you're ever feeling like you're starting over. Feedback loop for training. As we collect as we provide these answers through Copilot, one of the things that we're looking to do is get feedback from the users of how correct the answers are that we're generating. So being able to take that and store it has kind of two pieces to it. Number one, we can feed it back into training and slowly say, hey, these were good answers, these were bad answers, and over time evolve the model. We're not doing that yet because we're using off-the-shelf models, but we've got things built out to be able to do that. And the last thing is to be able to capture the data for analytics purposes. The analytics are very key. They're key for several reasons. One, if you're talking about not just having AI to be a marketing term, but to actually prove out its value, it lets you keep track of how many people are using this, what types of questions are they asking, and how effective is it when we see those uses. So if I go into kind of the high-level flow of what we put together, this is our training flow. So we're taking three major sources of information. So live interactions, so this might be call transcripts or chat transcripts. We're saving those, and that lets us kind of take the answers that are real is the wrong word, our service reps have been giving out as part of the interactions. We have an internal knowledge base. I'm trying to remember the exact scope of it. It's around 30,000 documents, if I remember. And then government and third-party data sets. So a regulator releases new changes to what you can do for payroll or how much you have to withhold for state unemployment insurance. Those are things that they release to their websites. We can process them into our knowledge base. One of the wins that I'll hit on with this is we can process those changes, that new data, into our knowledge base much, much faster with this process than what we'd seen before. Excuse me. So we're using OpenAI for our pre-processing, basically to get embeddings out of this data. And then for a vector database, we're storing these in Azure Cognitive Search. So one of the questions I'm sure is on your mind when you see this is, well, why didn't we use Atlas's vector features? For this project, we were working specifically with Microsoft. They were giving us some help here. And so we started with their vector database. It's something that I'm sure we're going to evaluate going forward if it makes sense to stick with that or to give Atlas a try. But in this case, what we went with right now is just Azure Cognitive Search. So our query flow, again, not anything too complicated. So we've got our vector database. We are embedding our Copilot within our existing applications. One of the reasons for that is it puts it front and center. It's there when you're using that app, and our service reps, in addition to being able to have it right in front of them as they're doing their job, it also lends context. So many times some of the questions will be about the application that they're using. You know, how do I do this? And so having that context of the page you're on, of the client that you're dealing with, already embedded in there is a great aid. So essentially, we're taking the questions that come in, we run them through OpenAI again, search against the vector databases, bring it back, use the generative capabilities to return an answer, and put that in front of the users. In Atlas, we're storing the various information. Plan is to feed it back for retraining, and then we have our data analysts that are taking a look at it. We're making use of both Power BI and Atlas charts here. Charts was a big accelerator when it comes to looking at the data analysis. The main reason that we're making use of Power BI is just familiarity by some of our users. So Atlas, I mentioned, is kind of a new technology for us. Charts is a new technology for our analysts, so it's just a comfort level. So over time, we may see more use of charts. Right now, we were just making use of both of them to kick things off and to see where it goes. In terms of bringing Atlas in for this project and some of our feelings on it and how it performed, just a big advantage for us with Atlas is the idea of fungible investment. So what I mean by that is, you know, Sean talked about, we have this large on-premises footprint already. We have all of these DBAs that are trained up in Atlas, or excuse me, in MongoDB and its administration. If I put that workforce and I said, okay, we're using this new cloud technology, they need to be trained, they need to be onboarded, they need to learn the new technology. With Atlas, we were able to essentially take folks who'd never worked in Atlas before, but because they had this deep MongoDB background, and they were up and running in a matter of days. Everything was translatable, everything worked well. In this case also, we worked in Azure. We've got other projects that we're standing up in GCP and AWS, and it's really the same thing. I don't have to retrain, I don't have to get people up to speed. If they know MongoDB, if they know Atlas, it translates across all three clouds, on premises, all one big investment. Ease of development, so actually for Copilot, we had a brand new dev team who had never worked with MongoDB before. Sean hit on it earlier when talking about our growth of MongoDB. It is just easier for developers. You know, they don't program in relational data models. Most of them program in either object-oriented or even functional data models. Those serialize to JSON and go into Mongo with little to no effort. So just overall, from the development standpoint, it's seamless. Customer support, gotten great support from Mongo throughout this project. They had a couple of developer days. I think that was talked about before. That's a service they offer. Came in, helped our devs learn what they need to do, helped with the different modeling of data, and really just accelerated the project and helped make it good. And then the analytics out of the box. We're not using charts now, but immediately that kind of day one, see what's happening as we're building this project, we could just fire up charts and take a look and have questions asked and sort of the broader analytics perspective of what was going on. Challenges with Atlas. It's not native to the cloud vendors. At the end of the day, the biggest strength is also the biggest weakness of Atlas. You know, as good as it is that it's multi-cloud, the vendors, you know, your AWS, your GCP, your Microsoft, they do optimize for their products. And so the interoperability and the ease of use that they give, you usually have to take one or two extra steps with Atlas to make it function the way you want it to. High complexity. I have a lot of folks who know MongoDB really well. They can excel at this stuff. MongoDB, when you take a look at it as a technology, be it Atlas or on-prem, they give you lots and lots of control. You can tune, you can do the things you want to do in there. That can be intimidating for new users. Until you get that expertise, until you understand what's going on, it can certainly be a challenge to just jump in and administer a MongoDB, a Mongo database. And then the last one is lack of federated authentication. So I've heard that there's things that are being worked on there, but when we talk about direct login to the databases, not the console, the databases themselves, right now, that's largely with local accounts. Many of the common standards for federated authentication just aren't built in yet. So it's workable, but as we scale, it's something that we'll need to address on our system. Results of the Copilot project. How are we doing? What did we find? I would say the first one is we have proven to ourselves that this commoditization of AI, this idea that anybody can take AI and embed it in there, minimally we prove that we can do it. It helped to demonstrate what sort of effort it would take and really what kind of value we can get out of it. Leveraging the large language model for search. So even though our main workflow is both the LLM and the generative piece, we return the sources that generate our answers, and that alone is very powerful. So even if we took the generative AI piece off of Copilot, being able to just take an LLM, use that as our search front, that goes a long way towards improving the productivity that we've seen. I already highlighted getting those third-party pieces in there quicker is one of the wins for us. The initial analytics guide to guide future work. We've got a lot of raw data that says this is the power of a tool like this. So as we look at AI and we look at where we want to invest, being able to say, okay, here are some of the gains we can see as we look across it, very powerful when we're talking to our leadership. And then just the last piece, this was our first big Mongo Atlas project, and it went off swimmingly. It really endorsed it as a platform for us. And like I said, we've already got other projects slated to use it. For us, we expected with our experience on-prem that was going to be a great transition, but it really proved it out and took us to the next level there. Here is a view of the dashboard that we created. This is Power BI, not charts, but just a view of kind of in our beta process, a snapshot of about a month where we were using it. So you can see very quickly we had about 1,500 chats, lots of feedback from the users, flags as to how positive or negative it was, and overall just a great experience to show what we could do really with only a couple of months of development. Business impact. How are we taking this from an isolated solution? What does it mean for that problem statement? We're still in beta. We haven't moved this to a full production. Really, the reason behind that is we're keeping it with what we would say our super users, our folks who are experienced in the space. If you caught on the last dashboard, our accuracy still isn't as high as we would want before we give it to those folks who may not understand where they can take it. And we need to get that accuracy up. That's really emphasized on the third bullet that's up there. When you talk about any solution with data, what you get out of it has a lot to do with what you get into it, or put into it. We did this solution with an off-the-shelf model. We didn't do any training of our own. This was just what OpenAI provided. And then when you talk about the data itself, we didn't have any curation, we didn't have any work to try and make sure that the data was structured and well usable. And what we really found through this effort is to get a higher degree of accuracy and get this to where we need it to be to put it in front of everyone. So we need to do things like that, the data curation, training our own model, those sorts of things. So while it was great and that we could stand it up very quickly and get pretty good results, in our field, we need to have really high levels of accuracy. If a client calls up and says, how do I handle this HR issue? And we give them the wrong answer, that can lead to them getting fined, it can lead to us getting fined. It's one of those areas where it's very important to us that we get things right. It also highlighted that last bullet. This isn't something that we see replacing our service reps. This is something that we see augmenting them. Having that person there that can filter the results, that can catch the 1 in 1,000 answers that isn't right, that can maybe dig on the content that gets returned and give a more elaborate answer or more context. So for us, this is definitely a productivity gain, not a here's a tool that we're going to put in the hands of our clients instead of calling our reps. It's going to make our reps better. And that's really the last of it for us. So that's where we are on the journey. Still relatively early, but I think it's a good snapshot of what you can accomplish if you start tackling some of these Gen AI and LLM challenges with, frankly, not a lot of work. So. That one doesn't work.
If there's any questions you guys have, happy to answer any FAQs, or that one doesn't work. So if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them while we're here. If not, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn. We're happy to answer questions over that.
Yeah, we have some questions up front.
All right. Hi. First of all, great presentation. So actually, question I have is around this. When you're implementing this solution, did you had any concerns over the privacy compliance sort of thing, or this particular use case that you had was kind of not using any proprietary data or PCI or PII?
So the information that we use internally, our proprietary information, is our internal FAQs, how to accomplish them. There isn't anything in proprietary in the sense of client information, PII, PCI type of information. PI, our own internal, yes, but since it's only accessible internally for our reps, it wasn't much of a concern at this level. As we move forward and take what we accomplished here to other areas of our business model, that's absolutely going to be part of that discussion.
I'll also say that we put safeguards in place when we talk about, hey, we store the questions and whether it gave the right answer. As those questions get stored, we ran it through a process to scrub any PII or any data that could be used to identify the person asking or things like that. So we took steps to make sure that even cataloging the questions that got asked, or for example, storing them for that session context, that we scrubbed sensitive data as it went in.
Right, okay. You can hear me, right? Hey, good presentation and...
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw a hand over there and I didn't catch the question. Could you repeat it?
No, I said it's a good presentation. Yeah. I don't know what the confusion is, but...
Did you have a question?
Yeah. So, you mentioned about it's augmenting the customer service and improving the data accuracy. What are the next 2 steps you guys are taking with the data accuracy?
So that's an interesting question. I don't think that we've decided exactly what we're going to do yet. I think the most likely thing is going back and refining the data set that we're using. So right now, we didn't do any curation at all. We just took, hey, here's our whole knowledge base. We're going to throw all of it in there. The next step would really be taking a look at if there's specialized knowledge that we want to give a higher weight. There's also a little bit of, you can put pre-processing in place to sort of take what is really just raw human readable data and make it a little bit more effective for building those embeddings and those vectors out of.
I'll just add, one of the things that we've already brainstormed a little bit is to look at the results of the consumption, the hits, which documents have a higher weight of result sets, and if there are documents that do not spawn any result sets, can we purge them? Can we look at pruning them? Can we make the source data more accurate by using whether or not they're being triggered by the search results?
All right, do we have time for one more question? All right.
So my question was along the same lines, but since you already covered the data cleanup, then perhaps you can tell us if you looked at MongoDB helping you with the training of the model in some way going forward?
So we haven't. Got to take those off. So we haven't looked into if Mongo could help us at all. We have talked to some other partners that we've got, in the space. But right now, training a model is one of the opportunities that we're looking at. I don't think it's probably going to be our next step, just because that opens a bit of a Pandora's box when you start saying, all right, we're going to get the new model and try and train it. That can have positive results, but you can also very quickly see your results sink. So I think that's probably a secondary step after we do some of that data curation.